Hey guys, what's happening? This is Craig here from Bass Lessons Melbourne, and for today's player profile video I am joined by Mr. Max Moran.
How you doing?
How's it going, man?
Good.
Thanks for coming over.
Thank you, man.
Welcome to Melbourne.
Thanks.
Again.
Yeah.
You had a good week here so far?
Everything's great, yeah. I don't know, I was telling you in the car, but
But these guys didn't, yeah.
Yes.
They weren't privy to that conversation.
Right. No, Melbourne's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm having a good time. Yeah.
Now you're from Louisiana originally, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was originally born in a small town called Cane River. It's about 4 hours like outside of New Orleans. But I mostly grew up in New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The small town, there's nothing there. It's beautiful, but
yes,
just rural, like.
Did you go to school there and stuff, or I mean, like you say, mostly grew up in New Orleans? Did you move?
I moved there when I was 10.
Right.
To New Orleans, yeah.
Okay.
So.
And were you playing music already at that point, or?
Yeah, actually, my parents had me in like violin lessons when I was 5.
A 5-year-old playing violin.
Yeah.
That must have been painful for all involved.
It was. I didn't really like violin. And I didn't really like practicing. My mom would like stand next to me to make sure I would practice.
Yeah. That was like, I used to do piano lessons as well, and same thing. I'm grateful for it now.
Totally.
But at the time, it's just like, this is lame.
Yeah. But I did, even though I didn't really enjoy practicing because it felt like a chore, I did like when things would start to sound good. It's like, oh, practicing's not so bad. Like this sounds like music now.
Yeah, if I do this, then this.
Yeah.
But doing that is the hard part, right?
Yeah.
There's no shortcuts.
No.
With any musical instrument.
Right.
Yeah. So how long did you stick at violin for?
When I was 10, I started playing guitar.
Okay.
And then played guitar for about 2 years. Maybe 3, and about 3 years.
Was it just a guitar in the house, or?
My dad had a guitar. He still has it. He had like a nice guitar, like a Les Paul. Mm-hmm. And he was nice enough to like let me mess around with it. And then my first guitar teacher was like, "No, that thing's too nice. Like you
need to get something crappy so you can work your way up."
Yeah, he's like, you gotta buy him like something less expensive and put that thing back in the case until he's older. So I got like this little Dan Electro guitar.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't get that far on guitar. I just learned a couple chords and was learning a lot of like rock songs, like System of a Down.
That era of rock.
Yeah.
Dig it.
Yeah. that was my jam. I probably learned like, most of the songs on that record.
What was it? Chop Suey? Was that the?
What was it? Toxicity.
Toxicity. Yeah.
And I started playing bass when I was like 13.
Mm-hmm.
actually with the guitar player that I'm playing with here.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Cliff Hines. That was like my first band that I was in when I was as a bass player.
Yeah.
Like he needed a bass player, and I'd been thinking about switching to bass. And then his like neighbor was selling a bass, so it all worked out.
What was the name of that band?
That's a good question.
Because high school band names are always quite funny.
Yeah, because I can't even remember. I remember one of the names that was like thrown around was Four Stripe. Yeah, it's stupid because one of us had like these fake Adidas shoes that had 4 stripes on them. But I don't think that's even the name that stuck. I can't think of the name now.
But yeah, that's good enough. 4 Stripe. Yeah. And so was that doing like System of a Down stuff or
rock songs.
Hard rock.
Cliff had some originals.
Okay.
And then we also did covers like the Vines and the Hives. You
Strokes.
Know those bands? Yeah.
all of the bands.
Yeah.
The Killers.
Yeah. So yeah, it was that era.
So you were like a rock kid.
I liked rock a lot. Yeah. At that time, you know. Actually, like some of the first stuff I listened to was like D'Angelo.
Okay.
And my parents listened to like all kind of different music, especially my mom liked Willie Nelson or like Motown and stuff. My dad listened to like opera, blues, jazz, fusion. Like he was into everything.
So it's quite a spectrum.
Yeah. So he's a big music appreciator. But then it's something about that time in your life when you're all angsty.
Yeah,
and full of hormones.
Teenage boy for sure. Yeah, I mean I was the same when I was that age. I was playing more like the Metallica, Pantera stuff. That's where I started out, kind of playing bass. Yeah, but I mean you're in New Orleans. Like, what about Second Line and all of that? Was that on your radar, or that wasn't cool?
No, it was actually like I still to this day would like to like start playing tuba at some point because like I love brass band.
So that you can walk down the street and play.
Yeah. I love brass band music, but like they never need a bass player, so I can't really participate. But and then when I was like 15 or maybe 13, I don't know. When I started high school, I went to a conservatory high school in New Orleans.
For music?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. So did you have to audition for that, or?
Yeah.
You auditioned on
bass. And then that's when I started playing upright too. And so I got more into jazz.
Proper bass.
Yeah. Yeah, some people will say the real bass.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with.
Okay.
They're both proper.
Yeah. Okay, so you're conservatory of music, so is that really where you kind of decided that you wanted to be a musician, or I mean, was that always on the cards? How did you?
It was a decision because like going to that school, they didn't have academics, so you would only go for half of the day, and then the first half of the day I had to go to a different school.
Oh, okay.
And so like freshman year, I think I was in school every day until like 6 p.m. or something, So I was like, I know this is gonna be hard. It's gonna be like a lot of work, I got to do my homework from a regular school. I got to like practice. I got to, I was like, if I'm going to like do this, if I'm going to go to this school, then like I'm going to be
if you're going
a
to put in all that time and effort, then it's not going to be for nothing.
Yeah. So
and did most students, continue on to play music, or?
I don't know if I'd say most, but probably about half.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a good number of the guys that were like in my class I still play with, like Joe Dyson, Cliff Hines. They're both in the band that I'm here with, and they're full-time musicians, and we've been playing since high school. We still play together.
So there wasn't like a plan B, or if it doesn't work out, I'll go and whatever?
No, I didn't. Like my dad is an artist,
Right.
so a visual artist.
Yeah.
So he was supportive
That's
of
good.
me wanting to be an artist, you know.
Yeah.
And my mom too, you know. They never. Every now and then they might hint at like, you know, are you making enough money? Are you sure?
That's
You know.
that's what parents are there for, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's good. To just always have that in the back of your mind as well. Don't just throw everything to the wind and just be. You got to live.
Yeah.
So, and we're fortunate enough that we work in an industry where we can do what we love and hopefully get paid for it as well. It's the holy grail. It's when both those things collide. When you're playing the music you want to play and getting paid for it.
Totally, man.
So your dad kind of started only feeding you once a day when you said you wanted to be a musician, just to get you. This is what it's going to feel like.
Get used to this.
Yeah, no more new clothes.
No, yeah, man. They were really cool about it. Like I said, they made me think to be sure, but they were never like, oh no, you got to get a real job,
Like you got to buy a house and you got to, yeah, that's cool.
Very supportive.
And so when you were kind of 13, 14, 15, who were the kind of bass player guys that you were checking out?
I liked Charles Mingus.
Okay.
That was the first upright player that I really liked.
Were you doing electric at all at school or just upright?
I was both.
Okay. Yeah.
And I had a really awesome teacher. I still consider him my teacher. His name's Chris Severin. Mm-hmm. And he plays the crap out of both basses. Mm-hmm. So
you can swear, it's okay.
I don't know if it was PG. So that was really cool to have him as like kind of a role model of like, I don't have to pick one, because he can do both extremely well. And then I liked Jocko. I liked. What's his real name?
John Francis.
John Francis.
Pistorius the third.
Yeah. Who else? Jocko. Mingus.
I mean, I guess in terms of doublers, guys that come to mind would maybe be Christian McBride.
Yeah.
John Patitucci. Mm-hmm. Were those guys that you were digging?
Yeah, definitely. I liked Christian a lot. And I got to meet him when I was young, too. I was like 14 or 15 and got to meet him at this program. They do like a week residency it's called Jazz Aspen. I don't know if they still do it, but they had like 5 different bands from, all over the country.
They should just shorten to Jaspin.
Sorry. That's good. So I got to
like high school bands.
They were mostly like college and out of college, and I went with the band leader was Adonis Rose, who's a great drummer from New Orleans. Mm-hmm. He played a lot with like Nicholas Payton and tons of other people. Now he's the head of the jazz orchestra in New Orleans. But he put the band together, and he's older than me. Everybody else in the band was like probably in their 30s at the time. And he brought another bass player too, an older guy named Peter Harris, who's great. But I still don't even know why they brought me. Like, I guess he just like thought that it would be a good opportunity for me.
Spare seat in the bus, and
yeah, and it was just like it'd be good to bring Max and he can meet all. So like
you can go and get us some beers and get coffee.
So and Jonathan Baptiste was in that band, the keyboardist, pianist. So he was. He's not that much older than me, but he was way more advanced than I was.
Yeah.
Like, I was just kind of like the understudy, But
just
it was
soaking it all up.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a pivotal moment then.
Yeah.
Then was Christian doing taking the whole thing? Like how did that work? What was his involvement?
He was. I think he was the director, artistic director, and Wycliffe Gordon was also there. Jeff Keezer. There was a vocalist named Tyranny Sutton in her band.
Jeff Keezer, he plays keys.
He plays in Christian's
with,
band.
with his band. Yeah, he's on that Live at the Tonic album.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, amazing. So I got to meet all those guys, and like they were really cool, like really nice.
Were you playing or like? Yeah.
Yeah, they so it was like kind of a mix of like concerts and like workshops, you know. So like we would have like rehearsals during the day where a band would play, and those guys, Christian and those guys, would kind of like critique, workshop, give pointers, and they also had like workshops where they would just, you know, set up and talk about a subject or whatever, play some music and talk and question and answer, you know. It was like maybe 5 days of that. It was really awesome, man.
Was he on your radar before then? Were you aware of Christian?
I think he was, yeah. I think I knew who he was, and you know, I knew he was a monster, you know. But then meeting him was a whole nother thing, because he's such a nice guy, man. Yeah.
And one of the things that strikes me is his intonation on upright is just amazing.
Yeah.
You know, like it's must be so hard to play high and fast on upright to begin with, but then for it to be in pitch and improvising.
Yeah. And like with a huge sound too. Yeah. And clear.
Yeah.
Like you can hear every note.
And then like on that Live at the Tonic CD, he switches to fretless, and he sounds legit on fretless, and switches to, you know, Electric Freddy and slapping the shit out of it, and you're like, this guy's just a master.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gets all idioms. Like he doesn't sound like an upright guy on Electric or vice versa. He knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you know, I mentioned I played with Donald Harrison, and Christian is on one of Donald's records when Christian was like 18.
Okay.
And Donald told me that at that time, like when they had rehearsal, Christian was playing like all this music that Donald and Terrence Blanchard had recorded in like the 80s, you know, difficult, really intricate, you know, amazing music. Christian was playing it on like every instrument. He knew like all the songs on piano, on bass, on drums. And they weren't even playing that stuff on the gig. He just knew it, you know.
Yeah.
Because he's just always like practicing and learning, and yeah.
It's definitely a good role model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard worker.
So, graduating high school, college, or just working?
I went to Berkeley in Boston.
For how long?
It was about 3.5 years. So like I graduated. I went through a summer semester to like get out a little earlier. It was a good time though. It was
fun.
Yeah. It's they got an amazing facility, and now it's probably 2 or 3 times what it was when I was there.
Yeah.
But I actually studied some like production and engineering there.
Oh, cool.
And that was really cool because there's all these studios that you have access to like pretty much 24 hours a day to work on your projects, and great teachers. Great, like, it was a great way to meet a lot of people that like I still am in touch with today, you know.
Yeah. Who was your bass teacher there?
I studied with a guy named John Lockwood.
Okay.
Who was really cool. Dave Buddha was another one, and John Rapucci was another guy, and they were all very different and cool. Like you could switch every semester if you wanted to, you know, and there was a good number of like teachers to choose from, you know. Yeah. Actually, Lenny Stallworth, I had some lessons with him too.
Okay,
he was great. Yeah.
How did you go with the climate? Because obviously it's kind of opposite, right?
Oh yeah. I was like,
was it tough?
My first winter there was like a blizzard, and I was like, why do people live here? Like, why did they settle here in the first place?
Snow is a beautiful thing.
No, it is. I'm not that big a fan of the cold, but I had a good time though.
So do you, like, you know, in all seriousness, do you reckon that would have had an influence on you, maybe moving to New York or whatever?
I'm sure it would have. Actually, I lived there for about 6 months after college. And New York's amazing. Like, there's so many great musicians. I mean,
So many.
it's unbelievable how high like the level is, you know,
Yeah.
and the just the amount of people too of high level musicians. But living there was like not for me. It was just like
Too much of a grind.
yeah, I think so.
You're a bit more laid back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's it's expensive and it's hard. It's a tough place. You gotta like really
But
adjust.
I think it's definitely good to spend some time there and see what New York is producing. Like I've been there a couple of times just on vacation, and every time I'm just like, wow, you can go out every night of the week and be blown away. And there's not many places in the world where you can do that. Walk into the 55 bar and see Mike Stern playing with Richard Bona, and then the next night go and see, Dave Weckl with Gerald Veasley. And then the next night go and see Lettuce, and then go and see the Village Vanguard Orchestra, and it's just never ending,
Right.
Like all these names that you hear of and you listen to the records, like they're all there doing stuff. So it's definitely, New York's one of those places that I think if you're serious about music, definitely try and go and spend some time in that city.
Yeah.
'Cause it helps understand a lot of the stuff that we listen to, I think. Like that sound.
Oh yeah, it's a special place. It's like it's definitely like the top of everything is happening there,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely good to check out.
So New York finishes and you're going to decide to move back to the warmth of New Orleans.
Yeah. So I moved back and I've been back probably, I don't know, 7 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what's your plan when you're there? You're like, okay, I'm gonna freelance. I'm gonna start my own. Like, what's your career path that you're thinking of at this point in time?
When I moved back, you mean?
Yeah.
Pretty much just whatever I can do to make this bass thing work. No, but I New Orleans is a good place to live and work as a musician. Like you were saying, like Melbourne is, because there's a scene.
Yeah.
There's a scene of like great players, and there's a lot of places to play, and people like music. You know?
As an accepted part of the cultural fabric, if you like.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like most of my friends in New Orleans are full-time musicians, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. I just want to play. I'm not really into like having another job or anything. So for a while I just did that, and for a while I would kind of take like every gig, to get by.
To build up the network as well.
Yeah.
Meet people. So, I mean, what are you getting, like 6 nights a week, or?
Sometimes I would, yeah. Now I'm playing a lot less, but yeah, for a while, like when I was kind of building up, yeah, sometimes it'd be almost every night. And there's like a street called Frenchman Street that's got a lot of music venues. It's not as famous as Bourbon Street, but it's kind of becoming more that way.
Yep. A bit cooler.
But cooler, yes. But yeah, now it's getting less cool.
Right.
And so now we're like, okay, what's the next place? But yeah, you could work on that street every night at least.
So what would have been a typical week for you in New Orleans?
I've had a regular jazz gig for like 7 years or something, ever since I moved back with my friend Gregory Ajid.
Yeah.
He's a clarinetist who's playing with Michael Bublé now.
The Bubble?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what we call him too. Well, we would play like straight ahead at this club that's kind of like, we would play during like the dinner kind of time, so people are sitting down and eating.
I mean, because you go to Spain and dinner is at like 9 o'clock.
Oh, right.
Or 10 o'clock. So what's dinner time in New Orleans? What,
We
7?
Yeah, about 7. Yeah, like 7 and then like 9.
So you background music, or is it like tickets to?
It's free to get in.
Yeah.
And it's almost background music. It's kind of like a step above because people do tune in and listen.
Yeah.
And but if also like some people don't. They're just like eating and having a conversation and drinking. You know. So it's a kind of both. But so I did a lot of gigs like that, and then a lot of, like you were saying, playing with your friends just for the sake of playing because you want to play some stuff that you want to play.
Yeah.
Even if that gig doesn't necessarily like make you money.
Yeah.
So we'll play at some other clubs that are a little more off the beaten path, and just because we wanted to do our own stuff, you know. And then a mix of that and like wedding gigs, corporate gigs, and also for like 10 years I was Donald Harrison's bass player, so he, will get good gigs on the road also, and like internationally and stuff. So I got to travel too.
Was that electric with him or?
Both.
Both.
Yeah. So straight ahead. Well, he's got a lot of different stuff. He plays a lot of different styles, so it would be upright and electric, and that was really good for me too, to be able to consistently be playing both.
Yeah. How did you go with moving your upright from, thinking about climate again, from New Orleans to New York, because that's completely different.
Yeah.
Did it explode, or did you need to? Was it all right?
I think it was okay.
From
what I don't remember any explosion.
Some people, it's like if it's always been in this humid and then it goes to like a really dry, cold climate, it can mess with it.
But also, I have a plywood base, so I think they're a little more more durable.
They're not going to move as much.
Yeah.
What was your first bass?
It was an Ibanez Soundgear 4-string.
Cool.
Yeah.
Active.
It had an active EQ. Yeah. It had an active section.
Yeah.
And my friend Cliff, the guitar player, he has it now. He still's got it. And then when I moved up from that one to like a SR 405, the 5-string version of like the same bass, and I still have that one. I played that one for a long time.
So what were you playing when you were in Berkeley? What electric were you playing there?
I think I still had that 5-string most of the time, and then I bought like a Mexican made jazz bass fretless.
For your Jacko licks.
Yeah. And I played that one for a while, but eventually like that neck kind of like gave out. Like I would adjust it and it would just like go back out of whack. Yeah. And so I don't know, it might be something I did from messing around with the truss rod, but I put later I put a Warmoth neck on it, fretted, and it's awesome. I love it.
You still got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really nice like jazz bass sound with a maple neck.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So we were talking earlier on, but you're kind of like a jazz bass. That's your voice, more or less, these days, on electric, or? I
recently got like a semi-hollow Warmoth bass that I really like. It's a short scale. And yeah, it's awesome because it's kind of a mix of like kind of an acoustic sound, like an upright, but it's got also kind of like a P bassish sound.
Yeah.
Because where the pickup is, and so it's kind of like old school sounding. So yeah, I mean,
it's fun.
I think I'm still figuring out like where my voice is.
I reckon you just got to have a palette, right?
Yeah.
Like any artist.
Yeah.
But there's usually, something that you kind of call home, and then depending on what the gig is, you might take the P bass or the jazz or the fretless, whatever.
Right.
I think that's how I look at it anyway. like my F bass is generally top of the pyramid, and then but if it's like this is like a real old school R&B gig, maybe I'll take the old P bass with dead strings kind of thing. So just whatever suits,
right?
Just to try and serve the music better, as they say.
Absolutely.
So apart from that regular jazz gig, what else might you do in a week in New Orleans?
Rock. Well, kind of experimental-ish stuff. So I'm here with Sasha Mazakowski at Bird's Basement, and her and my friend Cliff, the guitarist, Cliff Hines, they started a band together called Hildegard, and it's kind of art rock, slash like electronic, and it's all their originals. That was like that kind of a big part of like my life for a while. Just playing original stuff with
friends,
yeah, and kind of coming up with all kinds of different sounds. Like it's not really any. They would like argue like constantly about what to call it, like what genre to call it, So it's kind of not really anything, just like a mix of stuff, synths and.
Were you rocking a pedal board?
Yeah. Cliff's like a pedal master, so he like influenced me to get into that world.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
And then my friend Chris Royal, he's a saxophonist. I've been playing in his band for a few years, and it's like a kind of funk slash rock slash EDM-ish stuff. What does he call it? He calls it like space funk. Yeah, that's a fun band. Yeah, and I play a little synth bass in that too.
All right.
So yeah, those kind of gigs, and then.
Is there much kind of Latin music? Is that a thing down there?
It's not very big. It's like one of the areas that are lacking in New Orleans.
But I mean, Florida's not far away, and there's a massive Latin scene down there. I'm guessing like Miami and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, it's like there's only a few kind of Latin bands in New Orleans. There's a really great percussionist from Cuba named Alexei Marti, and I play with him a bit. He's got original music, and but yeah, there's only, I can probably count on one hand, like at least the Latin bands that I know of. Yeah, there's probably more that I don't know, but it's just not a big part of the scene.
Country gigs.
No,
not a lot of country music.
I've never done a country gig, and that's something I don't see a lot in New Orleans either. Yeah, probably only on Bourbon Street. There's like a few like country clubs, Right. But yeah, it's. But
the majority of things is going to be in that kind of funky jazz, blues, gospel vibe, I guess. In New Orleans, would you be right in thinking that?
Yeah, and then also like the whole New Orleans R&B kind of thing, like Fats Domino, or
like rock and roll.
Yeah. Early rock and roll is like a big part of
Chubby Checker,
New Orleans. Yeah, but there's a big kind of history of like early rock and roll and a whole like piano style too from New Orleans, like guys like James Booker or Professor Longhair. You've heard that stuff. So that's a big deal down there, like playing that kind of music. Yeah,
I guess that kind of then fed into like the Southern rock thing as well. Yeah, probably cross-pollinated.
Yeah,
down there
for sure. Like and Jerry Lee Lewis, he's from Louisiana.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so he's kind of that piano style too.
Yeah, and like I mean. Because you, like you're saying, you spent some time on the East Coast up in New York. Like, what would you say is kind of some of the defining flavors or characters of like music from New Orleans?
For me, or?
Yeah, I mean, just like if you hear something, can you be like, yeah, that's legitimate New Orleans music, or that's people playing in the style of, like, are you able to kind of make that call?
Sure. The Meters is like a huge one.
Sure. And we just lost
Art Neville.
Neville,
yeah. So that's there's tons of bands in New Orleans that are kind of copying that sound still, and I love the meters. I think all of those guys are geniuses.
Yeah.
I got,
It's like 4 or 5 guys with just like interlocking parts. I think of it, instead of it being like, like maybe you think of like rock music, whatever, as being like layers, like a sandwich. I hear the meters as just being like this like connected thing, like jigsaw almost, where all the parts just mesh together as opposed to sitting on top of each other.
Sure. Man, that's a really good way to think about it. A really good analogy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. Good night.
I got to play a little with Leo Nocentelli, the
Guitar player. Yeah.
He's amazing. So that's like a really big sound. Also, traditional jazz, like Louis Armstrong. That's a whole another thing that, there's lots of people that they dedicate their whole life to just that. And there's lots of musicians that's pretty much like all they play, and they play it really well, and they make good money just doing that, So I've done some gigs here and there like that with guys like Shannon Powell, who's a great drummer. I would like to get more into traditional at some point.
But then, like you were saying before, there's these kind of like newer bands like Big Sam's Funky Nation and Papa Grows Funk. Are they from New Orleans?
Yeah,
like that kind of thing. Like kind of like party rock funk stuff. Is that a big thing, or?
It's pretty big, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's this club called the Maple Leaf.
Maple Leaf, yeah.
You heard of it?
I've heard of it, yeah, because I've been checking out Papa Grows Funk videos, and they're up there. Or Nika Gillespie and the
Dumpster Funk.
Dumpster Funk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of like the evolution of like the meters.
Yeah.
That's like where that music has gone.
I think so.
Yeah, and I like playing that stuff too. Well, yeah, I'm trying to think who have I. Some gigs like that I've done, but yeah,
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on.
And so, when did you kind of? I mean, your album that you released last year. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? What's it called, and where we can find it, and how that came about, and
Sure.
how you're going to go forward?
Yeah. The band is called Neospectric, and the album is the same title, Max Moran and Neospectric.
So what is Neospectric? Is it a real word?
It's not.
Okay.
Well, it depends on what you call real, right? Whoa.
You take the blue pill. Okay.
But no, I made it up, and I thought of kind of the opposite of retrospective, or like a play on that word, So like a new way to look at something, or a new perspective. And I started that band. I actually started it when I was in college, home on break. I was still at Berkeley, but I was like home in New Orleans, during the winter break or whatever. And I had a jam session at my friend Cliff's house. Well, it was like a party, and we just started jamming, and it was just so fun. And I just started kind of like getting all these ideas, and I was like, man, we should be a band,
We should start a band.
Classic. So yeah, it took me like 10 years to say, okay, I'm gonna make a record now, And we didn't play a lot, I called up a venue, and I was like, I want to do a gig, and they were like, okay, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta make some music now. So I like wrote these tunes, and like kind of that was this gig was kind of like how the band started. I was like, if I book a gig, then I'm gonna have incentive to like have to write some music.
It's good. It's like if you book the studio, and you're going to have to get the tunes finished to record them as well, kind of thing as well.
Yep, and that's pretty much how that album happened too. Because I might have had 2 or 3 that were like kind of done, and then the other ones was like, okay, I gotta sit down and write.
Okay.
But yeah, we would just play every now and then, and it wasn't like for money or anything. It was just like, I got some stuff that I want to play, and I like playing with these guys. Like, let's just have fun.
It's quite an eclectic vibe on the album. Like the opening track, what's that one called?
All right.
Right. So that's fairly kind of straight up funk stuff, and then straight after that, the next track is a bit of a left turn, much more kind of not fusion, but definitely more jazz centric. And then from there on, it's just a continuation of different styles. It obviously speaks to your broad musical taste and all the things you like to do. But how do you approach writing? Is it just whatever comes out, you try and make it sound good, or was there a direction? Or are you thinking about writing for the guys in the band? Like, how do you go about that?
Some of all of that. Yeah, I think one of the things that's kind of central or consistent throughout all of it is like a groove, you know. So I was like, I want this to be kind of groove based, not like instead of like straight ahead jazz, you know. And I'm playing electric on the whole album, so it's like those are the two things that are kind of focal points, like playing electric, playing grooves, and also the like improvisation, letting everybody else improvise around the groove, but the groove is kind of there and solid, you know. Which of course it's not like I'm the first person to come up with that, but that was kind of the, you know,
that was the underlying ethos.
Yeah. And then in terms of how the songs are written, like they're kind of all different. Some would be, it's like, okay, I came up with this bass line, so now I need to put some chords to it. Okay, now I need to put a melody. Or sometimes the chords would come first, or sometimes the drum beat would come first. You know? And then just like, okay, what parts are missing? Let me come up with those parts.
Do you use like a DAW or anything to demo stuff up?
Yeah. I think at the time I just used GarageBand because it's just simple.
There's sounds in there, and you can get an idea of the vibe.
Right. You can, and it wasn't for anyone to hear, so it wasn't like a big production. It was just like very basic. Will these parts work together? You know, or not? So
like, how specific were you with like keyboard parts and stuff, or was it like, here's a lead sheet, let's play? I mean, or how orchestrated? Because a lot of it sounds fairly intricate. So I'm just wondering how, you know, did you have Sibelius? Were you scoring things out, or did that occur in the room?
It was mostly like lead sheet,
right?
And it's like a testament to like how awesome all those players are, because they came up with stuff that sounds like parts. It sounds like they sat down and thought about it and wrote it out, but they
that's what you want, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So
you can take all the credit. You could be like, oh yeah, I just, you know, I had to like scores and scores of music and.
Oh, I lost them all though, so don't ask to see them.
The dead scrolls.
But yeah, there was every now and then, you know, like the song "All Right," the guitar riff was specific. I was like, play this guitar riff, but that might be the only guitar riff on the whole album that I was specific about, and the rest was, you know. And then, you know, things like the lines that were, the melodies or whatever are written out, and a lot of the horn melodies were written by Chris Royal. He would write the melodies and the horn harmonies. But yeah, it was mostly like lead sheets and just playing.
Cool. Yeah. And you know, what's come of it? Has it opened some doors? Has it been like, you know, now it's been out there for a year or whatever? How do you feel?
I feel good, man. I was some cool things that happened. Mostly I was just like happy to get it done and just be like, okay, it's done.
Yeah.
This is
Was it like a week in the studio and then some overdubs, or?
yeah. I think we had 4 days total. It was like kind of 2 here and then 2 like maybe a couple weeks later or something, and then I had like a couple of days where I did vocals much later at like a smaller studio, and then one day where Weedy Brahma, he added percussion, and then the features like Donald Harrison and Nicholas Payton, they added theirs on like separate days.
Yep.
So it was a long process, but mostly because of my procrastination. It could have happened a lot quicker, but you know, I was just happy to have something finished and like showcasing like what we've been working on, like, and but then some cool stuff has happened. Like I got a write up in Bass Player magazine. Woo! Well, yeah, which was
You can retire.
yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
the front cover is when you can retire. Right? If you make it to the front cover of Bass Player magazine, that's it.
And you're on easy street.
Yeah. Cool. So a write up favourable. I mean, I don't think I've ever really seen a bad write up in Bass Player magazine. They pretty much just put stuff up there that they think is worthy. So that's cool.
No, it was really really great piece, favorable.
Do you have a publicist? I mean, or how did that?
I did work with a publicist
Right,
for the record. There's a guy named Christian DeGirolamo. He's in New York. I got him through, like, I was just asking my friends, like, have you used a publicist? Who did you use? Do you like them? And I just pretty much surveyed like everybody. And so he was,
Because it kind of has to be somebody that gets the music and the genre and all that kind of stuff as well. And obviously, this guy did, or yeah.
No, he was. You know, I reached out to like several publicists, and he was the only one that got back to me.
Really?
Yeah.
People didn't want your money.
Yeah. I think they're like so busy and they're like so swamped with people trying to, you know, get them to work for them or whatever. So, you know, I might have got 1 or 2 responses that were like, we're not accepting anybody. And then probably like 3 to 4 people that didn't respond at all. And this guy like responded and like talked to me on the phone and was like, and like listened to the record. And I was like,
wow.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, you sound like you care.
Yeah.
You know? So I feel much better about like paying you, giving you my money. You know? And he's done a great job.
Because it's one of those things is like, you know, you put all this time and effort into writing it, getting musicians, booking the studio, getting the artwork, you know, creating a thing, and then it's like, well, now what? You know, do you just stick it up on Spotify or Bandcamp and sell CDs at gigs and like that? Then this after you've recorded it is almost like that's where the hard work really begins. If you truly believe in what you're doing and you want people to hear it, it's hard these days because there's so much noise out there. You know, you get so many things to compete with that. You know, calling on professionals help, like a publicist, I think is a pretty good idea. Yeah,
I think so too. If you're not gonna go that route, then you gotta be a publicist on your own. You gotta like, you know, take an inventory of like, okay, who do I know that can help this along? You know, like my cousin is a pianist, great pianist, Jason Moran, and he said that was one of the things that he did before he got a publicist. It was him and his wife sat down and like made an Excel spreadsheet of like everyone that they could think of that they knew that could help in some way. You know, where it's like somebody they know that's a radio DJ or somebody that works for this magazine or maybe, I don't know, maybe just somebody that has a lot of money and likes funding things, you know?
Yeah, likes wasting it on jazz.
On jazz, yeah. So if you're not gonna like hire someone to do that, then I think that's a good thing to do is do that yourself. But I didn't want to do that. because that's a whole job, you know.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And then you got to do the whole social media thing. You got to do the YouTube videos and the promo and all that kind of stuff. I noticed that you had some kind of little interview clips up there about the album. Was that your idea or?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I had seen loads of other artists do that, but one of Nick Payton, it kind of inspired me to do that because I love him. I love his music and his album Into the Blue. I remember he had done that. He had this was kind of the beginning of like podcasts and like web series and stuff, and he had on his website like these little interviews explaining like every song, and I really liked that. Not just because it's like smart marketing, but like I really enjoyed it as like
it adds value
as a listener.
Added value to the end product, I guess.
Yeah. And I liked hearing his thoughts on like this is what the song was about, or this is how we made it, or whatever.
I think people really like that, like getting a little bit of that human connection. I think that's why people like going to gigs, because they can see the artist in the flesh, and there's a bit of back and forth between the artist and the audience, and sometimes it can be difficult to do that online with videos or whatever, like unless you're actually like this scenario where you're just like talking as you would normally in real life, and people really seem to want and expect more of that these days from artists. I think with like Twitter and Instagram, is just like you can see all of everybody's life all the time. And that's just what people want. They don't just want your music. They want to know what you had for breakfast, and they want to know what car you drive, and they want to know all this kind of stuff. Or maybe not necessarily they want to know, but they enjoy feeling part of that, more a part of that artist's life than they normally would be if they just had the record, I think. So it's just how much you're willing to give away.
Yeah. And that's one of the big questions. That's one of the things that like kind of freaks me out about social media is that like I'm kind of introverted and private. So like telling everybody what I had for breakfast and every day and telling everybody everything is just like a little too much for me.
For sure. But then there must be a happy medium, right?
Right. Because
where you can keep it professional to some extent.
Yeah. So that's been more the route that I have wanted to go. Like most of my posting is like just about
bass
music, yeah.
Just about it, yeah.
Instead of like my personal life.
Yeah. But people eventually, once you get to be the jazz superstar, people want to get that inside scoop.
Yeah, I guess so.
Get ready.
Oh no.
Let's talk a little bit about gear and stuff like that. What's your general rig and setup that you use these days?
I would play. One of my main basses is this bass, the Cruise bass that I was talking about, CREWS. They're from Japan. I have like a 5-string that I really like, and then Aguilar Tonehammer 500, and mostly I use a 112, the SL 112.
Nice and light.
Yeah, and they sound great, and that's my setup for almost every gig I do in New Orleans, like in town.
Club gigs and stuff.
Yeah. And then I have a 410 too, SL 410.
Cool.
For something that's a little bigger, or
outdoor stages kind of thing.
But yeah, so it's great. It's light.
You were saying that you're an Aguilar artist. Do you use any of their pedals or pickups and stuff as well?
I do, yeah. I have their pickups in that in several basses actually. I got their Super Double is in my
Super Double with fries. Sorry.
I got the Super Double with fries in my semi hollow body.
Okay.
It sounds awesome. And then I have the soap bar pickups are in my 5-string, and the OBP3 preamp.
Yep.
Which is killer.
That's a pretty powerful preamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
A lot of like flexibility in the tone, and powerful. Like you said, it's loud. I mean, I think I have like their PJ set in this little Ibanez the Talman bass. You seen those?
Oh yeah.
I have a short scale one of those. That's
cool.
It's really fun. That's a really like well-made instrument for like $180.
Ibanez is just, they make good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have the Filter Twin Aguilar pedal.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. And I use Mad Professor
Overdrive?
the Phaser. Their Phaser. Yeah. I met them at NAMM.
Okay.
So I'm an artist of theirs as well.
Cool.
Yeah. I got a handful of other pedals and stuff too. Like a Big Muff Pi, the fuzz. Carbon copy delay. Should I go on, or is this like boring?
No, I'm just like, you've got to check some of these out.
Yeah, the delays. That's like a standard delay that.
Yeah.
What else? I like Earthquaker devices.
Yeah.
I got their Chorus, the C machine. I think it's cool.
Cool.
It goes from like normal kind of standard chorus to like freaky weird
stuff, yeah.
Sounding stuff. The MXR Octave Deluxe, I like that one. I think that's about it. Oh, and I have some of these like small pedals by Hotone.
Oh yeah. I never know how to say that. Is it Hot One?
I don't know.
Hot Tone?
That's a good. I don't know.
Hot Tone.
I got one of their reverbs and a looper.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because they're tiny, aren't they? They're like that size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're sweet.
Yeah.
The looper is really cool too. It has like a feature that I don't really see on other loopers. You can slow down or speed up, like what
a variable amount or a set amount.
It's variable, yeah. It changes the pitch too.
Yeah.
But
I've got the Ditto X2, and that has like a half speed function, so which is pretty neat because you can use it in two ways. You can either record it normal and then flip it half speed, which drops it an octave, or you can record it at half speed and then flip it to normal, and that pitches it up an octave, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, but it's not variable. It's just a set half or normal. So
yeah,
that's
sweet,
pretty cool. Cool. Well, what's coming up for you? What's next after once you go back home to New Orleans?
Let's see. I got a couple more gigs with Sasha Mazikowski in California, and I've been working more on writing. So in the next maybe month, or no, probably like 2 months. I don't know. I'm gonna start
6 months.
6 months. Yeah. Eventually.
This is on camera. It's out there. You better give yourself.
That's good. It's gonna hold me accountable.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm gonna start writing for another Neospectric record.
Cool.
And I got kind of general ideas of like where I want to go with it. And right now I'm starting to work on making music for like TV and movies, just like sequencing like orchestral stuff.
Cool.
Maybe to submit to libraries or to shop around.
Some supplemental income.
Exactly, yeah. And I've been taking lessons with composition from a guy named Roger Dickerson, who's amazing in New Orleans. So that's kind of where I've been for the past year, is just working more on writing.
Like composition lessons always interest me. Like I would have no idea how to approach teaching that. Maybe for a complete beginner, but for somebody who can already write, I wouldn't really know where to start in terms of trying to help somebody compose better, because it's such a personal thing. But obviously there's like techniques and tools and stuff that you might not know about that you can help. So I mean, maybe tell us a little bit about some of those lessons and how that's helped you.
Yeah, he's you're so right. It's like how do you tell somebody how to write, because it's personal. So his approach is we've worked on some kind of technical things like counterpoint exercises, you know, where he'll give me like certain rules. You know, you need to make a line, but you can't. It's called a canus firmus. So you can't repeat an interval. You can't have any triads. Like 3 notes in a row can't be a triad. You can't. Let's see.
You got limited range.
Yeah, you can't like have more than an octave between 2 notes. So there's all these rules and restrictions, but what that kind of forces you to do is not think in a way that you've thought before, because you can't think about tonality really, or using a certain scale or a certain chord, or you know. So it's kind of like getting your mind outside of the box, and then
which is really good for composing, because oftentimes, I don't know about you, but I end up kind of writing the same grooves and the same chord progressions a lot, you know, and you go, I need something different.
Totally.
So giving yourself boundaries can actually free you up, you know?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so that, and then his kind of input is mostly like, his goal is to just get you to get out whatever you're trying to get out. So, you know, he's not trying to make you write a certain way.
Okay.
But he might listen to it and be like, well, have you considered this? You know, or like this part here, you know, maybe you've done that long enough. Like maybe now you need to go somewhere else, you know, or so just kind of, you know, the technical side gets real with the exercises, the counterpoint and everything. That's, you know, very strict and rules. But then when I'll bring in a piece that I've written, it's kind of like no rules, you know, and very like.
That's cool. Just have somebody to kind of bounce ideas off and without any pressure.
Right. Yeah. And just, yeah. His approach is just trying to help you to get out what you're trying to say. You know?
I guess in some regard it's similar to playing bass. You know, you learn the rules, you learn your scales, you learn your chords, arpeggios, you learn bass lines exactly as they are, transcribe whatever, and then you make your own, which is free. So it's like you're coloring in within the lines and learning the staying within the rules, and then you get the freedom once you've got those skills and those tools to kind of make what you want with it. So I guess it is kind of paralleled with playing an instrument to some extent.
Sure. Yeah, it's good analogy.
Cool, man. Good chat.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming over. It's been really cool to hear about, you know, playing in New Orleans and what that's like, and your approach to music is really cool.
Thanks, man.
If people want to check out your music or find out more about you, where is a good place to go?
My Instagram is at MaxMoBass, MaxMoBass, and if you look up my name, Max Moran, and Neospectric, we're on like Spotify, and there's some things on YouTube. You know, all the Spotify, Apple Music,
Bandcamp.
I think there's a Bandcamp stuff.
Okay.
And the record label is called Bubble Bath Records.
Cool.
And they're it's friends of mine. The guitar player in the band is one of the owners of the label, and they've got like probably almost 30 different New Orleans bands. It's all New Orleans bands, but all different genres. And so you can find our music from their website also.
You're involved in a few different bands on that label, probably.
Yeah. Greg, like my friend Greg, the clarinetist, and then the guitar player's got his own album that we're working on now.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, really cool label. They're trying to like showcase, you know, what is New Orleans music today. Because it's you know, and it's all kind of different stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Max Moran, everybody.
Take care.